start time, and I take note that our scheduled invocation speaker, Kevin Lee, is not present tonight. So as has been our practice in the past, I'll offer the opportunity if any member of the public would like to speak an invocation, however they wish to, I'll invite you to do so. Would anybody like to do that? Mrs. Shaw?
Thank you. Okay, can we bow our heads in prayer? Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for all the work that's going to get done civilly tonight, too. And though we may disagree on points, but we still walk away as friends and united under one purpose, God. And we just thank you for this evening. And bless these council people that spend so much time making life good for us in Perry. And we do really honor them, and the police department, and the city workers, and the girls upstairs. Everybody that's involved in this, the functioning of the city of Perry. We thank God for all these precious people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you for your service. I'm going to let Craig come to his seat. Time is now 7 p.m. and I will call to order this regular meeting of the Perry City Council for Thursday, July 18th of 2019. If everyone would please rise if you are able. And would you join me in saying, I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everyone may be seated.
This bowl is nice, I like it.
Devin, would you please call the roll?
Craig Elliott.
Here.
Mindy Galvin. Here. Adam Grass.
Here.
Christopher Powell.
Here.
Michael Queen. Terry Wood.
Here.
Mayor James Shulet.
Here.
All is accounted for except council member Michael Queen.
Find that a quorum is present. We will move to the next item on the agenda. The clerk and I have prepared that agenda. We believe it has all matters of business that need to come before you for your attention tonight. We seek your approval or your amendment of the agenda.
I move that the agenda be adopted as printed.
Second.
Moved by Grass, seconded by Powell, that the agenda be adopted as printed. Is there discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. This takes us to reading and approval of the minutes. Devin, would you please read the minutes of the June 20th regular city council meeting?
I move that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the June 20th, 2019 regular meeting.
Support.
Moved by Powell, seconded by Wood, to suspend the rules and waive the reading and approve the minutes for June 20th regular meeting. Is there discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Devin, would you please read the minutes of the July 8th, 2019 special meeting?
I move that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the July 8th, 2019 special meeting. Support.
Moved by Grass, seconded by Wood, to suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes of the July 8th special meeting. Is there discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. That'll move us to pre-approved reports and presentations. I have several items for us tonight. However, let's start with Terry, who has some announcements and presentations regarding the Ross DeLue Perry Pride winner. And put your best face forward, business.
Let's hope I can read this one out then.
We all do over the chair.
All right, this is the Ross DeLue. Put your best face forward, right? Did I get that right, Mayor?
You did?
Mr. Mayor? Can I have Jim and Deanna Shaw up here, please?
No way.
Hey.
No.
She's on the right side of the Lord, I got that, I mean.
And look what's on the other side of it.
Congratulations, girl.
Thank you, Terry.
You know what this is, right?
Yeah,
This is a little presentation because of your property and how nice you keep it. And we appreciate it very much.
well, thank you.
This goes to them too, right, James?
Is this keys to a new car or?
Well, that goes
It's
to
a start, it might buy
that
a
goes to the
key.
husband.
It might buy the key, you can thank our,
Is that new Ford?
that's from the hardware. They've done a good job on that. You know, okay, and this is a plaque that'll have your name up in the, your name will be added onto this. And be hung up in the hallway up there,
Okay, thank you.
this way. Upside down.
Okay, get together, please.
Oh, okay, let me put this way then. Is that better, or will that flash?
That is wonderful. Now smile too.
Oh,
Come on, Terry.
Come on, Terry.
Smile.
Jim, you were off. Okay,
I'm
so
gonna
not
throw
the
it
same
at
time.
you.
1, 2, 3, cheese.
Hey.
Gotcha.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, dear.
You might want to the sponsor too.
15 minutes, I think.
Here.
We want to give a special thanks to our sponsor for this program, which is Darling's Hardware. They've been doing this for several years, and it's a really great reward for members of our community who take good care of their houses. We're grateful that Darling's does that for us. Okay, pre-approved reports. Mr. Scott, did you want to give a report to council tonight? Welcome. Leland Scott, our city zoning administrator, is aware that there's some things going on here that fall under Leland's purview at the moment, and he's here to give you a little bit of an update on where things are at from his point of view.
Well, I am usually the zoning administrator for many things that happen in the city. Most of them relatively simple to take care of and hope efficiently done by me. But presently we have an issue that probably most of you are aware of that we are trying to wade through, and that is the project that's going on the south end of town by the Mosers. I am at a position where, a place I should say, where I feel that I don't have the knowledge or the experience to really handle it properly. And I think that I would like to request from this body, which I believe has the authority, to hire someone, an engineer, to come in and give me assistance. As I understand it, there is a question of whether or not the city has to pay for it or if it can be charged to the client. But there are many things going on that are beyond my scope of experience. I really think that we need somebody that can meet the project head-on with every answer, set parameters, and enforce those parameters to make sure that that's done. Whether or not they can crush or not is not the issue, it's whether or not they present it properly and then it passes the planning board. And I really believe that that is something I cannot do alone. So I would like to have that put before the order. At this point, they have been very adamant about doing what they want to do and disregarding anything that I said, which brings me to this point of not feeling that I can competently do it. The zoning has been, I have described to them what the zoning is that they can use and cannot use, and they've ignored that. And so without going into anything emotional here, I am really at a point of asking you if you can give me some help. Anything else you would like to know from what we have done and have not done? Mr.
Can you
Mayor?
stay until we get a little later into business? I'll let council know that working with the DPW superintendent, I have identified a planner that comes with several recommendations that can assist the zoning administrator with his end of the site plan review. Given the complexity of the issue, I think we want to make sure that we do this right. This planner will be able to help us with that, and I have a proposal before council. I'll seek your approval to hire that planner who will assist us for this one job.
We'll handle this later in the.
That'll be under new business.
At this point, they have applied, for permission to crush out there, but they have not presented a site plan yet, so there's nothing for me to review or pass on, so we still have to take that step. But there's a lot of things that should be included in that site plan that I think I would like to have some help on. So that's why I'm here tonight, just to ask you to consider that.
I appreciate coming out and saying, it's too big for me, you need help, so I hope we can.
Yeah, I think that the size of it is something, and all of the ramifications that go with it is something that I just can't reply to and handle, so.
If Leland can stay with us, he can be available as a member of
That'd be
staff
fabulous.
to answer questions
Yeah, I
if
can
you
do
have
that.
anyone. We'll get to that. Anything else tonight, Leland?
No, that's it, I think.
Thank you very much. And we have with us tonight Miss Mallory Bauer from the Southeast Michigan, well, she's the Southeast Michigan Field Representative for the Michigan Historic Preservation Network. We have spoken with her, or spoken about her, excuse me, I've spoken with her. We've spoken about her a few times before. She's here to talk to you a little bit about some grant opportunities that are out there that may be of assistance to us related to McQueen House. Council had said that they would like to hear this. She's going to give us a presentation tonight, and she has left a card for each of you. So as we go forward, you'll be able to reach out to her and ask questions, and potentially we can bring some business before the council regarding getting some of those grants. Mrs. or Miss? I never asked. Mrs. Bauer, welcome.
Thank you very much for the invitation to come and speak before you and before your community. My name is Mallory Bauer. I serve as a Southeast Michigan Field Rep for the Michigan Historic Preservation Network. We are the statewide nonprofit for preservation in the state of Michigan. We are a membership-based organization. And our mission is to educate and advocate on behalf of preservation in communities, not just for the inherent value in our historic resources, but also for the sense of community that can be found in our historic structures that tie people to a specific place, in addition to the economic development that some of these historic places can bring to communities. So we do offer a few quick resources that I want to share with you before I dive into the opportunities. One of which is a lead resource guide, which is for homeowners of older homes and what they can know, what they should know about being lead safe in their house. And additionally, every year we come out with a Historic Resource Council directory, and this has the contact information of tradespeople and architects, engineers who are familiar with older structures who can do work in that. So we do trades training, that's one of our big things, so that I know one of the struggles of people who own older properties is finding tradespeople who can come in and do work on their properties, and we're trying to address that. So the big grant program that I am here to speak on is actually a program through the State Historic Preservation Office. And that they were under the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. They will be moving under the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, MEDC, in the upcoming year. But they are the state regulatory oversight of preservation in the state. And they have a program. It is every state, all 50 states have this program. It's called the Certified Local Government Program. And the grants, there are 2 grants through this program. One is rehabilitation, and that is brick and mortar type work, which grant money for funding of physical structures is very difficult, if not non-existent at this moment. There's not a lot of funding grant opportunities for exterior work. The other grant opportunity through this program is for interpretation, education, survey, so doing, identifying what resources are in a community and documenting them, which is really helpful for communities to understand what assets they have, what they would like to, invest in maintaining, and can really guide development, thoughtful development in communities. So those grant dollars are also important in addition to the physical grant dollars. The grant monies comes through the federal government, and each state gets issued them, and then it's the SHPO who gets to distribute those grants to communities. In recent years, there have been few applicants for this grant money, and they've had to issue 2 or 3 extensions for grant applications. So if this is a program that the community is interested in pursuing, they've been short on applications, and so that is something that I like to be made known. To qualify to be a certified local government, the community does need to pass an ordinance, a local historic district ordinance, and then that can start the CLG process. So I know local historic districts often get a bad reputation, and this is something that if this program is something the community is interested in pursuing, I would encourage bringing me back and having further, more in-depth conversations about what a local historic district actually encompasses. But it's there is a commission that oversees exterior work only on buildings in a local historic district. It could be the commercial, it could be a neighborhood, and while often the local historic districts are seen as onerous, over 90% of applications are approved in the first time, and it does allow for change in your property. It's just managed change, so that it maintains the historic integrity of the community. So it's not, the desire is not to halt or to bring a community or buildings back to what they were originally, but it's just to manage change in the future, so suddenly a community isn't losing all of its historic resources in a neighborhood. So that is, again, I would encourage further conversations with me and education, but that would be the process to get to that certified local government, the ability to apply for those grants and monies. And the certified local government monies can be applied to municipal buildings, so this building potentially, and other buildings owned by the municipality or nonprofits in the community. Another brief thing about local historic districts. In the past, Michigan had a state historic tax credit that properties located within local historic districts could access. Unfortunately, we lost that in 2008, but my organization is working to bring that back because it is a great economic tool for communities, and we are in the minority of states. Most states have a historic tax credit, and that historic tax credit applies to residential properties as well as commercial properties. The details are still being fleshed out in our state legislature, but that is another thing to think about if you want to pursue this in the future. So. I could talk longer, but I'm sure you guys have a lot of business to take care of, and it's not going to get solved in one day. So
let me throw a couple suggestions at council, and I'd like you to correct me if I've got this wrong. Given this is federal money, I believe that we are we're in the early part of grant applications for the upcoming fiscal year, which I expect would start in October 1.
So grant applications for 2020 would likely be due at the beginning of October.
So we're coming up on that time. So this is, if this is something that you want to pursue in the shorter term, that is to say within the next year, we will want to get moving on it. I have a couple of suggestions on how council might take advantage of Mrs. Bauer's willingness to assist us in this. One route that we could take is a special meeting of the city council. We could all come together and have a meeting specifically to discuss this matter, this possibility grants, the ordinance, and have a focused opportunity to work on that. I need a commitment from council members sufficient to get at least a quorum here, though I'd really like everybody here. The other alternative is that I could appoint a work group, and the work group could pursue this with Mrs. Bauer and come back with a recommendation. As you guys are familiar, our work group is a flexible model, and that could consist of council members, so long as we don't have a quorum of the city council, and members of the public as well. So you guys can think about that and give me a little direction. We can talk to her about what we would like to do and how we'd like to approach having these conversations with her. Any questions? So glad that you came.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm here to answer questions, and I would encourage community engagement early on if this is something that you guys are thinking about doing, just to educate the population and so that people understand what's being asked.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I have more of these if anybody wants one.
That will conclude our pre-approved reports for tonight, and that will move us to public comment. I'll make a quick announcement for things tonight. I sat at a meeting of the Perry Public School Board one time, and I watched my friend John Harris, who was president of the board at that time, make a statement that I thought clarified public comment. And I think it's good for us, council, to remind ourselves of this fact, that under the Open Meetings Act, this is a meeting of the Perry City Council in the view of the public. It is not a meeting of the Perry City Council with the public. So we're going to go into public comments. One of the important things that we do during these meetings is we open up opportunities for members of the public to bring any matter that may be of concern to them before you for your consideration. And that gives you an opportunity to engage outside the meeting with those members of the public, to gather more information and decide if you want something added to the agenda that isn't already on our radar that we need to do. Perry City Council sets a limit on time for public comment. There are two opportunities, now and at the end of our meeting under any other matter that come before council. And any member of the public is given up to 3 minutes in each section to speak to us about anything you have on your mind, and we are here to listen to you. So that's up to 6 minutes total for each individual. And I will stay, because I think we may have some interest in some conversation tonight, that I will be available after the meeting if anybody wants to sit down and have a conversation with me. Any member of the City Council who wishes to stay for that conversation is welcome to. Having laid this out for us a little bit, I'm going to open the floor up. Would anyone from the public like to address the council at this time on any matter? Mr. Bemis, welcome in.
Well, I have some pictures for the council to look at. I can hand them to him.
Absolutely.
The first one's about a proper fence. The rest is about the salvage yard in front of my house and the junkyard. And there's a picture in there of a fence being put up that Terry Woods helped. They dug the holes on the proper line. They dumped all the dirt in my yard when he got done. And it's not right to have a salvage yard in front of my house. And there's pictures of a broken down motorhome that's been sitting there for a year and a half. It's just junk. And the guy that lives there is knocked down. I put up the fence before they sold the property, facing his house, because that's the way I learned to put them up. And he's got a quarter of it knocked down with his junk that's piled up against it. His salvage yard. There's 2 large trailers sitting there full of salvage. And Mr. Woods has dropped some salvage down there before, he knows what I'm talking about. And I brought my $2,200 taxes. That's what I'm paying to live behind the junkyard. And it's not fair. That's all.
Thank you, Mr.
Be
Beans.
passing around to the public.
We will. We'll have them back to you before the end of the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Beans. Would anyone else from the public like to address the council at this time? Hello, welcome.
I came to talk because I'm one of the people who walk their dogs in the city almost every day. I go all different routes by my neighborhood, across the railroad track. I'm Mrs. Porter, Jennifer Porter, Bob's wife. And one of the reasons I try to walk on the sidewalks, but there's some problems with the sidewalks in the city. One of the things is sometimes the sidewalks are narrow and there's children coming towards me, or babies in strollers, or just people. And so I try to give them space from my dog. So I will go out into the street and then try to make my way back to the sidewalk. Another problem that I'm having, which is become a big problem, is there are a lot of loose dogs in the city. People take their dogs out into their yard, they're not tied out or leashed. And my dog and I have been charged so many times that I have bought hot pepper spray. So we've had dogs come after us down an entire city block. And so when the sidewalks are running right up along the house, you know, in some parts of the city, there's almost no space between the sidewalk and the door, the front door, especially this area over here. I'm still learning the city, but I try to give everyone space with my dog, because dogs seem to trigger other dogs. And the other thing is that I walk my dog every day, no matter the weather. I try, and not all the sidewalks are kept free of piles of leaves, which are wet and slippery. I don't want to get hurt. They're not kept free of ice and snow. They're not kept free. There's parts of the city where you can't walk on the sidewalk because the bushes have overgrown, you know, where you pass, or trees have overgrown. And so I think if just seeing that on the agenda kind of bothered me, because I think it's almost a slippery slope where there's a lot of things. There's a lot of sidewalks that are damaged. They're heaved or they're sunken, so if it's raining, there's puddles. So I don't know. There's areas of the city with a sidewalk on only one side of the street. There's areas of the city where there are no sidewalks. So you have streets, you have parts of the city where a sidewalk will just suddenly end. We have that on Horace.
Mrs. Porter, we're at 3 minutes.
Okay,
But I'll give you another
that's
15
okay.
seconds if you would.
I don't know
If you
how-
would like to wrap up, and if you want to talk more, you can be here for the second comment and let us know what you haven't had a chance to say.
That was it. So I just wanted, before you talked about that, I'm one of the people in the street.
Mrs. Porter, thank you for coming to talk to us.
Hi.
Would anyone else from the council like to, would anyone else from the public like to address the council at this time? Yes, sir, welcome.
Hi. My name is Chad Diffin, and I live in the township just past the city line. And I came to talk about this concrete operation that's going on. I've never seen anything so ridiculous in my entire life. 40 years old, I've lived in 6 different states, I've worked in a lot of different industries. I've never seen somebody so ridiculous. First of all, they started processing concrete without a permit. Everyone here knows that. I know this has been frustrating for everyone here too, I'm sure, especially Mr. Leland. So we had to get a restraining order to stop them. Well, they violated their restraining order because they were processing concrete. The restraining order, from my understanding, says that they are not allowed to process concrete. Processing concrete does not mean just running a crusher. When you're dropping it repeatedly with an excavator and smashing it with a bucket, that is sizing it. That's a part of processing concrete. You know, they believe that they can do this because the property is zoned industrial, but every ordinance where the property is zoned industrial that is next to a property that is zoned residential, the rules are a little bit different. First of all, I know we don't have a proper ordinance here in the city because this has probably never been an issue here. They have repeatedly violated their permitted hours of operation. They're out there at the latest 6 o'clock every morning dumping trucks, running loaders, running excavators. So somebody, you know, told them yesterday they couldn't start till 7 today, so they thought that just meant their excavators. So they run loaders and shine their lights in everybody's windows. It's 5:45 this morning. They're operating right next to a county drain that is already in bad shape. It's very old, needs to be replaced. The vibration and the dropping of concrete there has the potential to damage that county drain, which could flood the entire east side of M52, which is a lot of homes, a lot of agricultural area. And as far as the zoning goes, yes, they're zoned industrial, but they do not have a special use permit. They should not be permitted to process concrete, period, because they don't have a special use permit. They should have a site map in place and executed properly. They don't have that. And I know it's very, very difficult for everyone here to enforce this, but it's incredibly frustrating for the residents as well. Waking up with, you know, 75 decibels at your front porch at 5:45 and 6 o'clock in the morning. Other than that, they've had, you know, other issues, minor stuff. They're driving their golf carts up and down the road, impeding traffic, not tarping all their loads, which is a problem. But the bottom line is, if they want to operate on that property, there's a lot of area there. All they need is to submit a proper site plan, get a special use permit, put in some sound buffering. They can have, you know, some 3 rows of trees, or they can have a 10-foot high berm. They need to have a fence. Any kid could walk on there and get killed. In the middle of the night, I mean, there's all kinds of, there's a huge pile of concrete. It's a huge safety problem as well. So, bottom line is, they need to have a proper site plan submitted, executed, in place, so that they're not creating all these dangerous situations and all this disturbance.
Mr. Giffen, we're at 3 minutes. Thank you. But
Thank you.
second opportunity, if you wish, you're welcome.
I think I've said what I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Would anyone else from the public like to address the council at this time on any? Seeing no additional public comment, we will close the public comment section of the meeting and we will move to communications. Devin, do you have any communications for council tonight?
Not tonight.
Very good. That takes us to mayor's report. I have a couple of items for council that I want to make you aware of. John, I'm going to need your help with this because you and I have been working on it, but I haven't been updated. Have we been able to schedule the inspection of the dune buggy shop?
Yes, it'll be Thursday, the 25th at 9 a.m.
And it'll be that Majeski firm we discussed?
That's correct.
Perfect, thank you.
The realtor will be there, I'll be there, and it'll be inspected.
So as per council's instruction on the potential new library, John and I have been working at identifying folks to get that professional commercial building inspection done. I worked with the realtor that we used previously to get several recommendations. John did some searching to get some recommendations. We've identified a firm that has come with several recommendations, the Majeski firm that will perform the inspection. The cost of the inspection is within my spending limits. So I'll be able to approve that. We'll have the report next week and we'll make sure that council gets an opportunity to review that report before we come together to make a decision on whether or not that location is a good site for a new library. Also, I would like to let council know that I had a meeting with Mary Capizio from USDA Rural Development regarding grants in connection with this possible new library. I've been working with the Community District Library and its director, Jamie Cromley, to see if there are grant opportunities available for us in refurbing and preparing that business to be a library. Our treasurer, Joanne Velting, identified some grants related to construction, which for this kind of a thing we find is very unusual. But there are some that are available out there. And the city if we acquire this property, we'll work closely with the Community District Library to apply for the grants that are available to see if we can get some help in setting up a very nice library down there for the whole community. We have reason to believe that if the grant application comes from the Community District Library, our chances of approval will be improved. So I'm going to stay in contact with Jamie Cromley and keep working with her. There may be things that have to come before council for your consideration, steps that we may have to take. But if we're going to invest some money in it, then we're going to have matching funds anyway. Let's see if we can get some help from the federal government. That was a very productive meeting with Mary. I've identified some other grants that are available out there, and this I want to share with the public. This area has grants available for low-income families for purposes of making home repairs, particularly when there is a disabled member of the household, and those repairs are intended to assist with accessibility and the ability to live comfortably in the home. And there are also loan programs available for low-income families to help them purchase a house. I have flyers regarding this information, and it is upstairs and available to members of the public. If we start to run out, we'll make more copies. Just like the grants we talked about with Mrs. Bauer, these come available with the new October 1 fiscal year. So here over the summer would be the time for members of the public to put their applications in and see if the federal government through this program can help out the low-income folks. If you're not a low-income person, but you have folks in your circle that you can think of that might find this useful, you're welcome to send them to Perry City Hall. You're also welcome to come and pick those flyers up, take them and give them to whoever you think it might be useful information to. Anybody interested in pursuing these grants will do so through the Rural Development Office in Flint. And if anybody has questions, they could talk to me. I'll tell them what I know and help them get to the right person to get them through that process. I have also found that rural development has a few potential grants that could be useful to the next city budget. I'll pursue those with department heads and where we can identify grants that may be helpful, that we could apply for. I'll bring it to your attention and report to you, certainly by the next time we're doing our budget a year out. That's all I have to report to council on. Does council have any questions for me on any matter? Hearing none, we will move to committee reports. Do council members have any committee reports for us tonight? Hearing no committee reports, we will move to presentation and approval of the bills. I believe council has had the opportunity to review the bills, and we seek your permission to pay them.
I move that we approve the bill as presented and that payment be authorized.
Second.
Moved by Wood, seconded by Grass, that we approve the bills as presented and payment be authorized. Is there discussion on the bills? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. That will move us to old business. The first item of old business that we have are mayor's appointments. I have several appointments that are expiring at this time, and I'd like to bring some of them to you to see if I can get your advice and consent. The first expiring term is for Mr. Terry Wood as an alternate member of our Zoning Board of Appeals. Terry, your term expires this month, and I would reappoint you to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Seek council's advice and consent.
I move that we approve Mayor's reappointment of Terry Wood as alternate seat to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term to expire July 20th.
Second.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Grass to approve the appointment. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please vote yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. This one slipped by me. Leland Scott has been a member of our Perry Building Authority for a while now, and his term actually expired back in May of 2019. I'd like to correct my oversight now and reappoint Leland Scott to the Perry Building Authority. I seek council's advice and consent.
I move that we approve the mayor's reappointment of Leland Scott to the Building Authority for a term to expire May 2022.
Second.
Moved by Grass, seconded by Elliott to approve the appointment. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. Mr. Greg Weckworth has served for a number of years as our alternate member to the CESA board. John Plowman and Dino Sanasic serve as our regular members and have been diligent and good in their attendance and representing the interests of the city there. However, as a stopgap measure, we've had Greg in there for quite some time, and his term expires on August 1st. I would reappoint Greg Weckworth as our alternate member to the CESA board. I seek your advice and consent.
It's not on there, so we need to add 4 years.
So that appointment would be out to 2023.
So I move that we approve the mayor's reappointment of Greg Weckworth to the CESA board as an alternate to the term expiring August 2023.
August 1st, 2023.
Support.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Powell to approve the appointment. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, vote no. Motion carries. I have just one more. We lost Mrs. Davis from our Finance and Ordinance Committee, our one standing committee, and I would appoint Mindy Galvey as a member of Council's Finance and Ordinance Standing Committee. I seek your advice and consent.
I move that we approve the appointment of Mindy Galway to the Finance and Ordinance Committee.
Support.
Any discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Moved by Grass, seconded by Wood. To approve the appointment, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. Welcome to Finance and Ordinance Committee. Thank you for your willingness to serve. This will conclude old business and move us to new business. Our first item of new business is a possible approval of communication upgrades for the well house and lift stations. John, would you like to address council on this?
All of our alarms at the end of this year will cease to work, except one in all of the lift stations and at the well plant. This is they're switching from 3G to 4G. It's a radio upgrade. I don't really have any choice in it. So I'm seeking approval. We approved this in the new budget just this spring, so.
What would council's pleasure be? Are there motions, questions, discussion?
Through all things that we already discussed when we were dealing with the budget, correct?
This was part of the items that we determined in the budget process needed to be left in there. John's got a big, long list of work that he keeps up to date on.
I move that we accept the proposal, this is by Northern, one by Northern.
Omni-Site.
Sorry, okay, I'll capture this. I move that we accept the proposal from Omni-Site for an amount not to exceed $2,392 to install an external field kit and authorize superintendent of DPW to sign quote acceptance.
Second.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Grace, to accept the proposal from Omni-Site. Is there discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. That'll take us to possible approval of installation of pressure transducer for wells. John, do you have
Yes.
anything for council?
Okay, this will be out at the well plant, and it'll take place in 2 of the wells. The life expectancy of these variable frequency drives that we use is 10 to 12 years. We're at the 10-year mark. I can't run these wells and shut the tower down in the current state. We have to do a tower inspection this year, so this was approved also in the budget. I need these to be installed prior to taking the tower out of service for that inspection required by DEQ. So, we do have 3 wells. I'm hoping to space stuff out so I don't have it all happening at once. Is the reason that I'm only doing 2.
What's council's pleasure? Floor is open for discussions, questions, motions.
I move that we accept the proposal by Northern Pump and Well for an amount not to exceed $5,100 for programming of well 1 and 2, and authorize Superintendent DPW to sign the proposal.
Second.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Powell, to accept the proposal from Northern Pump and Well. Is there discussion? Hearing none. Terry, go ahead. No. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. Our next item of new business is possible approval of crack sealant proposal. Tom, do you have anything for council on this?
Yes. This is on the National Highway Maintenance System. It's, they're out of Ohio. What they do is we purchase a pallet of tar sealant in cubes, and it goes into a heater, and we go out and we crack seal some of the streets where the pavement is new enough that it's not broken up too bad, to try to keep water infiltration out, to keep it from exploding, to extend the life out. We haven't done it in a number of years. I thought it was a worthwhile thing to do, especially in 2 of our subdivisions that don't have a lot of houses built in them. The reason being is those streets are gonna decay, and there's not gonna be taxes coming in off those, so I figured that this would be a good way to try to preserve the life. We'll do as much as we can, up to $6,000. The man that I've been in communication said he would bring us a pallet to start. If it's not working out, we don't want to keep doing it, then it'll end there, and it'll be about $2,400. So it'll have a range.
What's council's pleasure? Floor is open for discussion, questions, motions.
What road, do you remember the name of the road?
Perry Lake subdivision out here.
Uh-huh.
So say from Ralph Street going in, that's all fairly new pavement within the last decade, and it's getting quite a few cracks in it. I'm trying to think ahead and prevent having to grind it, repave it. Second Street, any of the streets that have been paved in the last, say, 5 years, where there's cracks developing, we'll try to hit. And
Okay.
I like the logic.
Did you want to make a motion, Mr. Powell?
Sure, I would. I move that we accept the proposal by National Highway Maintenance System Ltd. LLC for the amount not to exceed $6,000 for crack sealing materials, and authorize superintendent of DPW to sign proposal.
Support.
Moved by Powell, seconded by Wood, to accept the proposal from National Highway Maintenance Systems. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. Our next item of new business is possible approval of seal coating parking lots proposal. John?
Okay, I have 2, it's one group, but it's for the City Hall parking lot, the entirety, and the parking lot behind Charlie's and the dental office. They're gonna crack seal. Everything is starting to spider crack. I did get a quote on just replacement of the City Hall parking lot last year, and it was around $60,000. So I'm trying to prolong life. And it's broken down, it would be about $6,400 is the quote, to have it coated, sealed, and restriped
So help it live a little longer.
Sorry, I have to ask John. So
And then,
is the 6,400 both of them?
no, that is just for the city hall parking lot.
So the dollar amount is
The-
incorrect.
I don't
And
know.
what I've given them is what I'm saying.
It should be like 9,800.
So I need
For both parking
council to
lots?
consider, yeah, in
So
their
to
motion.
approve both proposals, council would need to approve an amount not to exceed 9,800.
Thank you.
I move that we accept the proposal by Kick and Asphalt seal coating and maintenance for an amount not to exceed 9,800 for seal coating 2 parking lots.
Second.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Grass, to accept the proposal from Kicken Asphalt Seal Coating and Maintenance. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. Moves us to our next item of new business, possible approval of sanitary sewer investigation proposal. John?
Okay, this was not a part of the budget discussion. This is something new that has come up in the last month and a half or so. We were cleaning the sewer mains. We have one 12-inch sewer main that takes all of the waste from the north side of the tracks, runs it down Lamb Street, and we keep hitting an obstruction under the tracks. While there's no backup or anything, we can't see what's happening. So this proposal and televising is for a company to come in and figure out what's going on down there. I don't know if it's I measured it off. It should be out of the railroad track right of way or just out of it. But if we had a major issue with this, we would be tankering sewage around to the lagoon. So I need to figure out what.
Truck,
Yeah.
tanker, as in.
Septic pumpers would have to be called in.
Yeah, I move that we accept the proposal by Granite Hilliner for an amount not to exceed 4,000 for sanitary sewer investigation.
I second.
Moved by Grass, seconded by Elliott, to accept the proposal from Granite Interliner. Is there discussion?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Terry.
this price is 4,000, just to find out what it is, it's no repair or anything?
Well, this company here, back about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, relined from the main lift station up Williams for 2 blocks. So I feel confident in their work, and if they find something that they can repair, otherwise, if I hire someone to TV it and just say, oh, there's something in there, they're gonna TV it anyway. Anybody's gonna televise it to find out what's going on. So I figured use the company that would probably end up doing the relining, if it can be relined, which I'm hopeful that it
But the
can be.
quote is just for find out what it is, right? Or
That's
are they
the-
gonna like?
They're gonna clean it, find out what it is,
Okay,
find out what the problem is.
okay,
Um,
okay.
Beyond that, we don't have a camera that can go in anywhere. We don't have a camera at all.
You guys want
In public
volunteer to
works.
go out through there?
I
Okay,
nominate
I just
Terry.
didn't know if it
No.
was fixing to or just the
It's
inspection. and find out.
exploratory work,
Okay.
and if it can be repaired without being dug up, I would get a quote from them and go ahead and do it. I mean, you have to approve it, but
And we've done work with them in the past.
yes,
And you like them?
yes.
Good for me. Oh, we got the proposal. We moved the motion, so.
We haven't had a motion. Would you like to make one?
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Grass and
Grass
second.
motion, I
Moved it?
second.
Yeah.
This was
Forgive
open
me.
for discussion.
Okay, you are
Tried.
correct. Very good. We were into discussion. I apologize. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Moves us to our next item of new business, possible approval of McLean House Improvement Proposal. John?
Yes. Okay, this, I realize this dollar amount is a touch over the discussed amount at the budget discussions where we allocated $15,000 for the repairs on the outside of the McQueen House. In comparison with the other quotes that we have received, this is below that. And for the scope of work and the amount of work, after I talked to the Mr. Godfrey, I believe that this is a fair assessment, and I think that he'll do a fine job with it, you know. So I don't know, in light of the grant stuff, I don't know if that's, what I'm trying to do is get ahead, because winter will be coming, we're halfway through July, and,
Grants, I'm sure, at least a year
okay,
at best.
so,
So the floor is open for discussion, questions, and motions. What's council's pleasure?
So what do you do when it's below what was approved in the budget?
there is enough in buildings and grounds maintenance for that building to cover it. I think I put an extra 1,000 in just for incidental stuff that comes along.
Council has opportunities to amend the budget in the future to adjust for these small things. Frequently, what we do when we need more money in one area is we'll cut something else out of the budget. Ultimately, the treasurer will make sure that we put the proper budget amendments in place before our audit so that we're in compliance with the rules that the state has for us.
And he is insured and bonded. I believe that we got all the paperwork from him on that.
And the part of the work, the scope that he's gonna do is patch the roof, but the metal over the window,
Yes.
is that part of what he's going to do?
Yeah, he's gonna fix the leak. As far as, I don't know the exact material that he's gonna put on, but I believe that they are gonna save the metal roof that's there and put like it's either gonna be some sort of heavy polymer type of coating, reflash everything and fix it so that it doesn't leak.
Okay.
And my discussions with him.
And that's cool with the Historical Society. The way, I just don't wanna get too far into it and then come to find out, oh, we
Well,
gotta do it.
John, you've been in consultation with the Historical Society. and-
Yes,
and
they brought
So
the-
they're in on this discussion.
They brought this quote to me, and I compared it with all the others that I have had.
Okay.
So I feel confident that it'll be done. If it still leaks in the end, hopefully there'll be some sort of warranty
Good to go.
with any type of work like that.
Good to go. Right up there.
Are you
Very
ready?
City Hall, Terry.
Are you ready?
Go for it.
Whatever your pleasure
It
is.
just sunk into me, that's all right, pretty soon enough. All right, I move that we accept the proposal by Godfrey Home Improvements for an amount not to exceed $15,500 for McQueen House repairs and authorize superintendent of DPW to sign proposal.
Second that.
Moved by Wood, seconded by Powell to accept the proposal from Godfrey Home Improvement. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. Would you like a break, John? The
Yes.
next one's mine.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Our next item is possible approval of planning consultant firm proposal. So this is the approval that I need for the city to sign an agreement to bring this planner in to assist us with the site review process that we have before us in connection with this proposed concrete crushing site. I've given the council the proposal in your packet, and I'll open the floor up, find out what council's pleasure is. Discussion, questions, and motions.
So is this Is this the engineer that you was talking about?
This isn't an engineer. In fact, the engineers recommended that we need a planner. This planner has been recommended to us by several individuals. He's worked for Perry Township before. There's an engineer that I know that does not work for the city, but speaks very highly of this planner. He does work for Village of Fowlerville, and I spoke with them, and they gave him high praises for his ability to handle these complicated issues. I've spoken with the gentleman on the phone, reviewed the proposal, and I believe that this is the guy that can help us make sure we get this site plan approval process correct. We have a caveat in the proposed motion. City attorney working for us in connection with this proposed site, Justin English, is away on a long weekend and has not had an opportunity to review the proposal. And that is a requirement under the city rules. So I'm asking you to approve the proposal subject to review by the city attorney. He'll do that on Monday when he's back.
I think Leland come here in good faith, and I really appreciate you doing that, Leland. Rather than tackling something you don't know and getting into trouble, I'd rather see us keep clean and do it correctly. So I appreciate you coming forward. I think we need to do this so there's no problems for either side.
Do you want to advance the motion, Mr. Wood?
Oh, I guess I can. I was hoping something else.
You may if you would.
You gonna get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I move that we authorize the mayor to sign the proposed agreement with CIB Planning Incorporated pending city attorney's review regarding a 3-year contract of consulting services and fee schedule for zoning and development brought to the city for possible approval.
Support.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Wood, to authorize the mayor to sign the proposed agreement with CIB Planning. Is there discussion?
Why is it a 3-year contract of consulting services? Is that like his minimal that?
It locks his rates in for the next 3 years for us. That way, if, once we've been through this process, we decide that having an ongoing contract with the planner has some benefits, we've got rates locked in for a while.
Okay.
Rather than a one-time thing. We would like to build a relationship with the city and potentially become a permanent part of these processes. They're unusual here. We really very rarely get a site plan review as involved in such a sensitive issue as this. But he'd like to make a proposal to lock in with us for a little while if we need him again. I think there's good sense in doing that, especially since we pay only when we need to use the services.
Yeah.
Pay him an hourly rate.
Okay, that's good.
Any other questions before I?
It's already been done.
Yep, we got the motion, second. Any other discussion?
All I heard was Chris.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Wood.
Yeah. You're right.
That's okay, I forgot they'd done it entirely.
One word.
If you didn't get one name, you're still halfway ahead of me. Hearing no more discussion, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. The next item on our new business is discussion of the International Property Maintenance Code. I thought if we were gonna send the police out and start writing a whole bunch of tickets to people who were not walking adequately on the sidewalk and have that kind of government regulation in a small town, we ought to go back to the International Property Maintenance Code consideration. Since council rejected it at the time, not being appropriate for a small town, I'd like to bring it back up for discussion. I'm not sure which way we want to go on this.
Well, you want me to jump on this, James?
It's up to you, Terry.
This is brought up and I have a lot of conflict with it, okay? We write these ordinances, they get referred through from the lawyers, and then they get knocked back from the court. And they're saying this magic thing here's gonna do it. Is if you've read it, and I hope you've read it, and if you haven't read it, then I don't think we should even attempt to pass it now until the new members have had a chance to read this new ordinance, the property maintenance ordinance. And that's my recommendation. It was turned down overwhelmingly before. So if you're gonna do it, you ought to read it, study it, and see what it says. That's what I'd ask the council to do.
I'm going to disagree with Mr. Wood slightly on this. I would not characterize it as being rejected overwhelmingly. It received approval unanimously on first reading, but failed to receive a motion in support for final approval. So it died.
I thought it was overwhelming, nobody proposed it.
I don't know where everybody stood. They simply decided to drop it in the midst of a great deal of discussion about the terms of it. I would certainly agree with Mr. Wood that if you're going to consider it, that it's something you should read and we should have some very serious discussions about. There are some very real benefits to enforcement of using a established standard code. Takes away a lot of the ability that judges have to disapprove of a law based upon their own reading of it. But I agree with Mr. Wood. This isn't something I put on here to ask you to approve tonight. I am simply bringing it up because I am being what my grandmother would call a little stinker. And if we're gonna write a whole bunch of tickets for not walking on the sidewalk, why not go all the way, I say. So, we've had some discussion. Is there anything else?
Do you folks need a copy of it?
I would like a
Is
copy
this
of it.
it right here, what you're talking about?
No. That relates to the sidewalk.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
a book.
Okay,
WASO uses this International Property Maintenance Code, and speaking with their mayor and city manager, they highly recommend it. Has a lot of benefits in them in connection with enforcement. That's what they say.
I have all the materials, the mayor asked for it to be just a discussion until something was put in front of you and whether it's a book. So if there's no interest, there was no reason to subject you to all of it until it was a group effort.
I think you really need to read it. You need to see what it does and the power it gives a gift.
Any further discussion for tonight? Shall we leave this with no action taken for the time being?
I think so. Can we get hard copies?
No action taken, but direction that they want a copy of it.
Anybody who wants a copy, just see the clerk.
Sure.
I think everybody should get a copy.
Is someone in agreement with that? How are you gonna handle that, Mayor? I have
No action taken?
no action taken and I'm
Yep.
getting,
And council members can request copies if they would like to look at it. I don't want to make a bunch of, if somebody didn't want to look at it, I don't want to make a copy for you. I think Terry's got a good point that it would be worth doing. So I'll leave it up to each one of you to request it and take a look at it.
Do you want one, Chris?
I think
Oh, everybody wants one.
so everybody wants one. That's
Yeah.
why I was trying to get it in the
Sure.
minutes and then it's,
Well, I find them all to be responsible adults, so I figured they.
Well, I can move that you issue a copy to everyone.
You can make that motion if you
you
want.
can make that motion, I just,
You wanted to
I
get it
don't,
in
I
the
didn't want to
file.
take direction from one, I wanted to take direction from all.
All right, we'll do that. I move that you give a copy to each council member.
Oh, one copy, we can just come over to your house, hang out, read it all together, have one.
Maybe Terry can read it to you. May I suggest,
Use
Terry,
that
that it
voice.
isn't really necessary to have a motion, everybody's asked for one, and the clerk will provide them.
Okay. Well, she just wanted it in there official like that. I can do that.
Do you withdraw your
Direction
motion?
is fine, yeah.
Do
Okay.
you withdraw your motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah,
Any other-
Anyway, nobody's gonna vote for it.
Well, I don't know. I got in there too quick for them to have a chance. Okay. Anything else on this? We'll leave it as no action taken. We are now to possible adoption of ordinance number 347 regarding amendment to the trash and refuse. Council did first reading on this at your last meeting, and we seek your final approval of the ordinance. This is the one that creates a mechanism that can be used when circumstances change and trash service is needed at a new location or is no longer needed at a location. And it gives direction and responsibility to the DPW superintendent.
I move that ordinance number 347, which authorizes the superintendent of DPW to exemption trash services for, is that supposed to be exempt trash services? For extenuating circumstances, and which was read at the June 20th regular council meeting be adopted.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Grass, to give final approval to ordinance number 347. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. That takes us to our final item of new business, possible adoption of a resolution to instruct the mayor to enforce citizens to use the sidewalk. So let me give a report to begin with. The chief and I took some time to look into this issue that was raised in our previous council meeting. And the law governing this issue is Michigan Compiled Law, Section 257.6555. Council has a copy. It is brief. It applies to the local streets. The chief and I have discussed this, and we've discussed it with the officers. This is a matter of law that our officers do pay attention to. However, it has been their practice to exercise discretion and seek to resolve safety concerns and things like that they see through a discussion. In fact, for those of you who had the opportunity to review the reports of enforcement work by our police department, the Perry Police Department does that a lot. And we have found it to be a very effective way to resolve problems without having to write a lot of tickets. However, well, that being the case, I would report to council that I'm satisfied with how the police department is enforcing this law, and I decline to interfere with their discretion. I really don't like interfering with discretion in departments unless there's a compelling reason to do so. If council is dissatisfied with that as a resolution, council does have authority to take that discretion away from myself and the officers and have us write some tickets if you see a safety concern that we don't. So I'm presenting a solution to the problem that's brought up along with a proposed resolution that would take that discretion away. If you'd like to leave us in their hands, you don't have to do anything.
I agree, it's up to the council what we do with this, okay? And never have I intended that we strictly start writing every single person on the street. A simple cop stops and requests that they be on the sidewalk would be sufficient in my opinion. If the people know that it's already there, that they can be ticketed because it's state law, you know, we're eligible. I mean, if the sidewalk has got water on it, I'm not telling you walk through 6 inches of water. I'm telling you that if you got a good sidewalk, use it. We spend, well, this $18,000 this year to repair sidewalks. If we're gonna spend the money to repair them, we should use them as much as possible, knowing that sometimes we gotta go to the street. I don't know, some people might pile the brush on it, I don't know. But for whatever reason, if it's not salted and it ain't shoveled, I don't expect you to walk and sit in 10 inches of cement. But we do have sidewalks, we are spending money every year. I know we can't get them all, because a lot of them been in for a while. But we're going another 18,000, I'd like to see people use it. That's all. I've never did I say I wanted every single person cited. I just thought a nice request from the officer, would you walk on the sidewalk wherever eligible, or possible, I should say. That was my intent from the beginning, so you and I just agreed anyway.
Oh,
Excellent, I love it when you agree.
Well, I don't know, I didn't think I come out that way. I didn't
Well-
think I gave the indication that everybody should walk on the sidewalk. I just thought that where possible, if you put something there and make it for them, they should use it if possible. Knowing that in some instances you can, but you sure shouldn't make a car stop while there's traffic coming when there's a sidewalk there on both sides, as a matter of fact. That's not good, and it's the one that hurts the all, if you know what I mean. I mean, one person will stop a car, twice now by me, while I have to wait for another car to go by, while this guy's standing there with his dog in the center of the street while in my lane, and so I stop. And there's a sidewalk there, and there's a sidewalk there. One of them I thought would be eligible to walk on, but I've never wanted anybody to be truly written anyway. I just did not see the need for as much use in the street when that's for cars and bikes and motorized vehicles. What we put the sidewalks in for is for to try to keep the people away from. I mean, if you're walking, I'll tell you another thing, if you're walking in that street and we got snow, I might want to walk in the snow because I don't want to get hit by a car that can't stop and slides into me. But that's my thought, okay?
I would say that discretion of the officers, if they feel that it's sufficient.
Yeah.
I think it's all needed.
All he's got to do is explain to them and say, you know, where possible, use the sidewalk, please.
My conclusion is that our police department is doing an appropriate job enforcing this ordinance. But I recognize, as Terry has often pointed out, council runs the city, not the mayor. So I report, give you the opportunity to overrule me. If you're satisfied as well with how the officers are doing it, we can just let this matter go by, and we can table this indefinitely.
is this something that we could put out on the marquee? You know, as a reminder, you know, per section 257.655, it is a state law.
Would you let me take that under advisement? That means I need to think about it.
I would like to have you do it. No, I'm just, I just got you there, didn't I?
No, I'm joking, man.
Yeah, is that a motion?
Is it a possibility is what I'm asking? And if it
Certainly, it would be
is-
within the parameters of something that the city can appropriately put on the sign. The question would be how exactly we would go about that. I don't know the answer, I haven't given it consideration, but I'm willing to think about it if you'll let me have that opportunity.
Please.
You know, there's cars blocking the sidewalk continuously in some areas. I'm trying to get that addressed too, so to open it up. I just feel if we're gonna spend the money and we're gonna try and make it a safe place for people to walk, then we ought to make it as safe as we can, get the cars off and get it taken care of as much as we can, knowing that it ain't gonna happen in all cases.
Are the cars parked on the sidewalk in the areas where you can't park on the street from 3 a.m. till whatever?
In the winter, yeah, they enforce that in the winter, yes it is.
Further discussion?
I'm done.
To remove us from the agenda, I would need a motion to table indefinitely. This will then go
So
away
moved.
unless council brings it back off the table.
You gotta take it,
Moved by Wood, seconded by Grass, to table indefinitely possible adoption of the resolution. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. That moves us to any other business may come before council. This is the second opportunity for members of the public to address the council on any matter. Members of the public who have already addressed the council are granted a second 3-minute time limit should they wish to use it. Anyone who hasn't addressed the council also has a 3-minute time limit to address it. Would anyone from the public like to address the council on anything at this time?
I would.
Mr. Porter, welcome.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
As I understand, Councilmember Wood's concerns about people on the road, they shouldn't be blocking the traffic. But we need to be careful about selectively enforcing ordinances. As a member of the planning commission, I've read most of the ordinances. I see a lot of violations every day. So if we're gonna pick one, we need to pick them all and enforce them equally and fairly. So we can't pick one thing because people are walking on the street. I didn't know it was a law that you had to walk on a sidewalk if it was there. But then we also have to make sure the bicycles aren't on the sidewalk because they're supposed to be in the street. So we just have to be careful, it's slippery slope when we start doing targeted enforcement.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Would anyone else like to address the council on any matter? Seeing no additional public comment, I'll ask members of council if they have items of business that need to come before you for your consideration tonight. Seeing none, I'll suggest that we may want to, especially in appreciation of the comments that Mr. Porter made, we may want to deal with that moratorium that's in place on the enforcement of the sign ordinance downtown. It's time we get to work on that, start talking about what changes you want to make, if any, or get the moratorium off, and we'll go back to doing our jobs there. I'll put that on the agenda if any council wants that in the near future, but you suggest we should deal with that.
Has that left the finance and ordinance committee? Because that was where we kind of stuck it to last.
Is it signed in there?
So
I thought it was.
Yeah. But we've kind of, with the situation going on, Karen has kind of delayed, I think.
Could be, but I'd like to see that move forward.
Yeah.
I think we need to make some decisions there. Okay, so that takes us to council discussions and observations. Councilman McGowan, do you have anything you'd like to share with us tonight?
No.
Thank you. Councilman Elliott?
All good.
Councilman Grass?
No comment.
Councilman Powell?
I want to say that the last week when we had big winds and all the tree limbs and stuff, I thought the DPW did a great job. The younger blonde kid, that he was scooping up twigs, and I really appreciated what he did. And so, let him know. The machine was so dang loud I couldn't yell it to let him know. So. And is there any kind of a cover for the vacuum when it goes back into the tank? The dust and stuff that comes out, is there any kind of a cover that can go on there to maybe filter it more?
It's just like a half-inch expanded metal sheets up there.
There's like 2 hours of scooping out of the pool. But they did do a good job. I wanted to let you know that, John. And that's it for me.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Powell. Councilman Wood, our senior councilman, we're the only guy sitting at this table who sat here longer than me.
It feels like it too. I got something directed to the council. The school board has been neglected, but we've been very neglected in this setting and going to each other's meetings. And my whole intent when I started that was so that we could establish a relationship with them. City government being very, very important for the city, and then school being very, very important for the city. Parks after that, according to the stats I read. I think we need to know each other, be able to talk and communicate with each other, and settle things if we need to. When you don't know somebody, it's a little harder to settle, the give and take, if you know each other. So that's all I'm saying, is that I think we should do that, and we should rotate it. I think everybody's comfortable because I sat there, but that don't establish any relationships with anybody else, that's just me. I know them well. That's it, that's all I got, thank you.
Perhaps you can help us with that, Terry. Since you sit on the school board, you know the schedule quite well. Perhaps just reach out to one or another and invite us to come. I think it just gets lost in everybody's schedule. And if you're heading off to a meeting, you call us the week before and ask somebody to come, it might encourage us to be a little bit better than that. And you know I'll always take your call.
Well, when Greg Brentworth was on it, he was very good. He came up to most of them, okay, and that helped him meet the guys who know. But I have no problem doing it. Give me a rotation so that I don't pick the same person or leave somebody out for repeated times.
Exercise your judgment.
Oh, boy, that hurts.
We trust you. All right. Well, that leaves it to me. I think I've said enough tonight. Let's move to agenda items for the next meeting. Let's see. We will want to have discussion on how we would like to proceed with the opportunity that Mrs. Power brought to us today. So if you guys will think about that, and at the next meeting, let me know if you want to set up some special city council meetings, or if you'd like to put a work group together, and if you want a work group, who we might put on that. We'll put that on for discussion. I'll get a little direction from you guys, and then we'll move forward from there. Let's keep mayor's appointments on there. There's a couple other things coming up that might be necessary. Got that done, that done, that done, that done. That's all done. I don't have anything else for the next agenda. Do council members have anything else for the next agenda?
Did you say this, Mayor? That was no action taken? Did you say that?
Discussion of the International Property Maintenance Code. Okay, yep, let's put that on. If any other items come to your attention between now and the next city council meeting that need to be on your agenda for your consideration, let the clerk know. We'll get all appropriate matters before you for the next meeting. With that, the time is now 8:26. We're adjourned.